on peer reviewing, which we need to do because that's the scientific way that we establish the validity of the research, and it's very important, then we would need to immediately withdraw these products because all of the peer-reviewed scientific studies that we have, we need more. They're limited, but we've been prohibited from doing them by the companies. And 26 scientists that wrote an open letter to the EPA because USDA had called them together and said, we're not able to publish so that we can get that peer reviewing, or we're denied access to the materials by the companies that we need to assess. If we use that standard for peer reviewing, which we have to use in science and should use, then the products have already been declared unsafe for consumption. Now, we do have some of the secret studies that have been submitted to the regulatory agencies for safety.
And so that's the regulatory agencies are the ones that are approving for these crops to be planted commercially, correct? So this would be FDA or USDA? I'm
actually all of those agencies, EPA, USDA, and FDA all conduct regulatory reviews and tests before these get approved. It takes about 10 years for these to get approved. They do go through a lot of regulatory process. Unfortunately, none of the regulatory process includes long-term human health. And as Dr. Huber was saying, there are 2 long-term animal studies. There are 0 long-term human health studies, and Monsanto's own website says as long as the introduced gene protein is determined safe, so if the bacteria that we're pulling it from is considered safe, and the GM and non-GM crops are alike in all respects, the GM crop is said to be substantially equivalent, which is what Dr. Huber was just saying. Experts in the field of food safety are satisfied that this approach is sufficient and reliable to assure GM crops are as safe as their conventional. The expert community in the industry is what they're referring to. This expert community does not see the need and thus does not recommend long-term tests in humans in order to establish safety. And then on top of that, because it's not labeled, people don't know they're eating it. So if people are getting sick and going to the doctor, they're not having this conversation with their doctor. They're not saying, well, could it be the GMOs? It's not even a part of the dialogue whatsoever in the United States.